Liber Had, sub figura 555. Now, the Kabbalists out there are probably adding up Hey and Aleph and Daleth and say, hey, that doesn't add up to 500. Well, if you put a TH to Hadit or an ITH, it adds up to 555. Anyway, yesterday we did Liber Nu. Okay. Now remember, in the Book of the Law, the first chapter, the Nuit chapter, starts off with the word had, the manifestation of Nuit. And then it goes on for the Nuit chapter. Chapter 2 is the chapter for Hadit, and it starts off with the words Nu, the hiding of Hadit. Well, anyway, Liber Nu and Liber Had are instructions for an extended meditation or a personal, private worship service, if you will, for the aspirant to Nuit and Hadit. So it's literally Thelemic mysticism at its highest. Both of them say they're for the winners of the Ordeal X, which is references made to the winners of Ordeal X in the Book of the Law. So today, we're going to finish up this discussion. Oh, if you don't have a Liber Nu and a Liber Had, I'm sure you could download them someplace on the internet. But if you had the magic of Aleister Crowley, you would have both Liber Nu and Liber Had in there. And because Liber Nu and Liber Had you can't even begin to try to start to embark upon almost beginning to study Liber Nu and Liber Had without basic familiarity with the Book of the Law. You'll probably want to read the Book of the Law too, so you'll have sort of a place to start with your understanding of Liber Nu and Liber Had. And if you don't have a Book of the Law, again, I'm sure you can download. It's very short. You could probably download it, or at least pretty good versions of it off the internet. Or if you had Magic of Aleister Crowley, the entire Book of the Law is in this book too, along with a couple other tidbits that might make your Thelemic journey a little bit less, well, it might help you with your Thelemic journey. Anyway, here's Liber Had. If you recall from yesterday, there are three sentences or verses, if you will, that started off Liber Nu. Yesterday's, it started out, Liber Nu starts off, this is the book of the cult of the infinite without. But Liber Had starts off, this is the book of the cult of the infinite within. Then the next line for the Liber Nu was, the aspirant is Hadit. Nuit is the infinite expansion of the rose, Hadit the infinite contraction of the rood. But Liber Had starts off, the aspirant is Nuit. Nuit is the infinite expansion of the rose. Hadit, the infinite concentration of the rood. And back in Liber Nu, the next sentence is, first let the aspirant learn in his heart the first chapter of the Book of the Law. And for Liber Had, it's first let the aspirant learn in his heart the second chapter of the Book of the Law. And now I'll continue with Liber Had. Worship, in other words, identify with Nuit as a lambent flame of blue, all touching, all penetrant, her lovely hands upon the black earth, and her lithe body arched for love, and her soft feet not hurting the little flowers, even as she is imagined in the stele of revealing. Let's see, she should be the inside cover of this. There she is. She's the big blue, all touching, all penetrant, her hands upon the earth. Where is it? Right there. Her soft feet not hurting the little flowers. Let him, this is the aspirant, let him further identify himself with the heart of Nuit, whose ecstasy is that of her children, and her joy is to see their joy, who saith, I love you, I yearn to you, pale or purple, veiled or voluptuous, I who am all pleasure and purple, and drunkenness of the innermost sense, desire you. Put on the wings and arouse the coiled splendor within you. Come unto me. Sing the rapturous love song unto me. Burn to me perfumes. Wear to me jewels. Drink to me. For I love you, I love you. I am the blue-lidded daughter of sunset. I am the naked brilliance of the voluptuous night sky. To me, to me. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the unextended point clothed with ineffable light. With light ineffable. And let him beware lest he be dazzled by that light. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as a ubiquitous center of every sphere conceivable. The center of every sphere conceivable. That's a meditative subject. As I mentioned yesterday on an advertisement for I think it was the Nova scientific series on PBS, it starts off by, the universe has no edge and has no center, which is like saying the edge is everywhere and the center is everywhere. Liber Had, you try to comprehend Hadit as the center of every sphere conceivable. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the soul of every man and of every star, conjoining this in his understanding with the word. Every man and every woman is a star. Let this conception be that of life and the giver of life, and let him perceive that, therefore, the knowledge of Hadit is also the knowledge of death. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the magician or the maker of illusion, and the exorcist or the destroyer of illusion, under the figure of the axle of the wheel and the cube in the circle. Also as the universal soul of motion. Apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the universal soul of motion. And there's a parenthetical editorial thing here, but I'm going to just sort of try to stay pure to the text here. Let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the perfect, that is, not, capital N-O-T, not, and solve the mystery of the numbers of Hadit and his components by his right ingenium. Well, if you're going to use your right ingenium to try to understand that riddle and those numbers and things, then I'm going to have to digress just for a moment and read from the second chapter what he's talking about there. This is the section. Now let there be a veiling of this shrine. Now let the light devour men and eat them up with blindness. For I am perfect, being not. And my number is 9 by the fools, but with the just I am 8, and 1 in 8. Which is vital, for I am none indeed. The empress and the king are not of me, for there is a further secret. I am the empress and the hierophant, thus 11, as my bride is 11. Do you want me to explain that to you? No, why don't you meditate on that in your exercise of Liber Had? That's a pretty rough one. Get out your gematria and your Kabbalistic things, and those numbers will drive you crazy. Okay. Hang on. Where was I? Excuse me for a second. I don't want to. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Okay. Let the aspirant, bearing him as a great king, root out and destroy without pity all things in himself. All things in himself and his surroundings, which are weak, dirty, or diseased, or otherwise unworthy, and let him be exceedingly proud and joyous. Now, the reason I'm pausing there is because this is in reference to that section of the book of the law, where I knew I shouldn't have taken my... This section of chapter 2 has been taken, what I feel is horribly out of context, to try to justify Thelema, the philosophy, the religion, the magical practice of Thelema, as being somehow fascist and genocidal in its essence, and to use arrogance and cruelty as somehow being Thelemic virtues, and to project political meanings into something that Crowley is saying. Let's see here. To be taken person, personally. Okay, here's the quotes. These are dead, these fellows, they feel not. We are not for the poor and the sad. The lords of the earth are our kinsfolk. Is a God to live in a dog? No, but the highest are of us. They shall rejoice, our chosen. Who sorroweth is not of us. Now, this is, one more time. How do I lose my place every time? Here's what he says about reference to those verses. Let the aspirant bearing himself as a great king root out and destroy with all pity all things in himself and his surroundings. And if you want to project those surroundings to the complexities of a military or political thing, I think you're overstepping your bounds. Your surroundings is probably the beer cans in your living room. Let him destroy without pity all things in himself and his surroundings which are weak. Himself, weak in himself, weak or dirty or diseased or otherwise unworthy. And let him be exceedingly proud and joyous. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the snake that giveth knowledge and delight, and bright glory, who stirreth the hearts of men with drunkenness. This snake is blue and gold, its eyes are red, and its spangles green and ultraviolet. And then, parenthetically, that is as the most exalted form of the serpent Kundalini. Next, let him further identify himself with this snake. Next, let the aspirant take wine and strange drugs according to his knowledge and experience, and be drunk thereof. Parenthetical note by or it's bracketed even. The aspirant should be so sensitive a condition, should be in so sensitive a condition that a single drop, perhaps even the smell, should suffice. Let the aspirant, next aspirant concentrate his consciousness on the rude cross set upon the mountain and identify himself with it. Let him be well aware of the difference between its own soul and that thought which it habitually awakes in his mind, his own mind. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as the unity which is the negative. And the bracketed editorial thing, Ein Elohim. Next, let the aspirant live a life of strong and beautiful being, proud and exalted, contemptuous and fierce toward all that is base and vile. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit according to this 26th verse of the 2nd chapter of the Book of the Law, and it shall be easy for him if he have well accomplished the 3rd practice of meditation. And I think I will read that verse. Chapter 20, verse 26. I am the secret serpent coiled about to spring. In my coiling there is joy. If I lift up my head, I and my nuit are one. If I droop down mine head, and shoot forth venom, then is rapture of the earth, and I and the earth are one. Okay. Next, let the aspirant destroy reason in himself according to the practice of, Liber 424, which is Liber Os vel abysm, which actually I posted this morning, and it'll appear on Facebook right below this. You can read the whole thing. It's wild. If you're going to try to wrap your meat brain around that, you may be a very interesting person to talk to in a rubber room. Okay. Next, let the aspirant observe duly the feasts appointed by the AA and perform such rituals of the elements as he possesseth, invoking them duly in their season. Next, let the aspirant apply himself to comprehend Hadit as a babe in the egg of the spirit, that is invisible within the four elements. Next, the aspirant seated in his asana will suddenly commence to breathe strangely, and this without the operation of his will. The inspiration will be associated with the thought of intense excitement and pleasure, even to exhaustion. And the expiration very rapid and forceful, as if this excitement were suddenly released. Next, a light will appear to the aspirant unexpectedly. Hadit will arise within him, and Nuit concentrate herself upon him from without. He shall be overcome, and the conjunction of the infinite without with the infinite within will take place in his soul, and the one resolved into none. Next, let the aspirant strengthen his body by all means in his power, and let him with equal pace refine all that is in him to the true ideal of royalty. Yet let his formula, as a king's ought, be excess. Next, to the aspirant who succeeds in this practice, the result goes on increasingly until its climax in his physical death in due season. This practice should, however, prolong life. Next, let the aspirant aspire to the practice of Liber 11 and preach to mankind. Next, let the adept worship the name, foursquare, mystic, wonderful, of the beast, and the name of his house, and give blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star. Next, let the aspirant expand his consciousness to that of Nuit, and bring it rushing inward. It may be practiced by imagining that the heavens are falling, and then transferring the consciousness to them. Next starts the summaries. These are the necessary possessions: wine and strange drugs. These are the necessary comprehensions: the nature of Hadit and of Nuit and the relations between them. These are the meditations necessary to be accomplished: identification with Nuit, body and spirit; identification with Hadit as the snake; identification with Hadit as the rude cross, destruction of reason, the falling of the heavens. These are the ethical practices to be accomplished: the destruction of all unworthiness in one's self and one's surroundings, fullness, almost violence of life. These are the magical arts to be practiced. During the preparation, perform the invocation of the elements and observe the feasts appointed by the AA. The actual practice: procure the suitable intoxication. As Nuit contracteth herself with the infinite force upon Hadit, the results. Peculiar automatic breathing begins. A light appears, samadhi of the two infinites within the aspirant. Intensification of 3 on repetition. 3 is samadhi on the two infinities with the aspirant. Prolongation of life. Death becomes the climax of the practice. Conclusion: these are the practices to be performed in token of thanksgiving for success. Aspiration to Liber 11, preaching of Thelemic to mankind, blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star. So the last 2 days have been Liber Nu and Liber Had, as I try to keep repeating in order for you to put everything in context. You'll be well served if you have a copy of the Book of the Law at your side as you read through Liber Nu and Had, and as you read along, make all of the reference to chapters and verses of the Book of the Law. Only 2 or 3 read-throughs will start to open things up to you amazingly fast. But anyway, Constance has her thing this afternoon our time, and we're getting ready for that. And also, I'm kind of antsy today because my car is in the shop trying to get itself smogged and fixed up enough to where it is smuggable, and a couple of other things that have needed to be fixed in years. And it's out of the driveway, and I feel, even though I don't drive around very much anymore, I'm nervous that it's in somebody else's hands, someone who's going to charge me probably more money than I want to pay. Anyway, I'm waiting for their call. And Sister Elizabeth has been kind enough to drive me to the shop and back. So anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.